Robert Lang installed his last solar panel on a Tuesday morning in March 2021. By Thursday, his power meter was running backward. By Friday, the utility company sent a disconnection notice. Not because he owed money, because he was sending power back to the grid without an approved interconnection agreement. The county code required $12,000 for a licensed electrician installation. Robert's system cost $4,100. He built it himself over 2 weekends. 3 years later, his electric bill is zero. The system still works. The code that tried to stop him is still on the books. This is the story of off-grid solar with battery storage and the certification maze that makes sure most people never attempt it. Subscribe before we open this one. You capture photons and convert them to direct current. That current either powers your home directly, charges a battery bank, or does both simultaneously, depending on load and time of day. Here is the mechanism. Solar panels generate direct current electricity when sunlight hits silicon cells embedded in tempered glass. Those cells are thin wafers of crystalline silicon, doped with phosphorus on one side and boron on the other. When a photon strikes the cell, it knocks an electron loose. The loose electrons flow toward the phosphorus layer. That flow is electric current. The current runs through wires soldered to the back of each cell, connecting them in series to build voltage and in parallel to build amperage. A 400-watt panel generates roughly 40 volts and 10 amps in full sun. 20 panels wired together produce 8,000 watts at peak output. That direct current power flows to a charge controller mounted near the battery bank. The charge controller has one job: regulate voltage. Batteries have a narrow charging window. Overcharge them and you boil the electrolyte. Undercharge them and sulfation destroys the plates. The controller watches battery voltage in real time and adjusts the incoming current to match the battery's state of charge. When the batteries are nearly empty, the controller allows maximum current. When they approach full charge, it tapers the current to a trickle. This prevents damage and extends battery life from 5 years to 15. The charge controller feeds battery storage. Most off-grid systems use lithium iron phosphate cells or sealed lead-acid batteries. Lithium costs more upfront, but lasts 3 times longer, and handles deeper discharge cycles without degradation. A 15 kilowatt-hour lithium battery bank costs around $4,500. The same capacity in lead-acid costs $2,200, but needs replacement every 5 years instead of every 15. The batteries sit in a ventilated enclosure, wired in series to reach 48 volts. When you flip a light switch inside your home, you are not drawing from the solar panels directly. You are drawing from the batteries. The batteries feed an inverter, which is a box of transistors that switch direct current on and off thousands of times per second to simulate the alternating current waveform. The output is 120 volts alternating current at 60 hertz, identical to grid power. Your refrigerator, your computer, your microwave, none of them know the difference. They pull power. The inverter delivers it. The batteries discharge. The sun comes up. The panels see light. Voltage rises. Current flows into the charge controller. The batteries recharge. The cycle repeats every 24 hours. No fuel is burned. No meter is read. No bill is generated. Performance numbers. A 5 kilowatt solar array with 15 kilowatt hours of battery storage can run a 1,500 square foot home indefinitely in most of the continental United States. The average American home uses 30 kilowatt hours per day. A 5 kilowatt system in a location with 5 peak sun hours generates 25 kilowatt hours per day. That is not enough to match average consumption. But the average includes central air conditioning running 8 hours a day, electric resistance heating, a second refrigerator in the garage, and devices left on standby. Cut the waste and actual usage drops to 18 kilowatt hours per day. The system covers it. Average cost for do-it-yourself, components purchased separately, is $6,000 to $9,000, depending on battery chemistry and whether you buy new or refurbished panels. Average cost for a licensed contractor installation of the same capacity is $28,000 to $35,000. The contractor's quote includes profit margin, liability insurance, permit fees, and the cost of navigating the interconnection agreement with the utility. The do-it-yourself builder skips all of that and buys the same components from the same suppliers. The panels last 25 years. They degrade at roughly 0.5% per year. The batteries last 10 to 15 years depending on chemistry and how deeply you discharge them each cycle. The inverter lasts 10 to 12 years. After year 3, you are running on sunlight you already paid for. That is the entire principle. Photovoltaic cells were invented at Bell Labs in 1954 by 3 engineers experimenting with silicon semiconductors. They built a cell that converted 6% of incoming sunlight into electricity. The telephone company saw no use for it. NASA did. They put solar panels on Vanguard 1 in 1958. The satellite stayed in orbit for 6 years, powered entirely by solar panels smaller than a briefcase. When Vanguard 1 finally tumbled out of orbit in 1964, the solar cells were still generating voltage. In 1973, the University of Delaware built Solar 1, the first photovoltaic-powered residence in the United States. It generated more power than it consumed. The house still stands. In 2023, Germany generated 54 gigawatts of solar power on a single June afternoon, enough to power 40 million homes. For 6 hours that day, solar supplied 102% of Germany's electricity demand. Small island nations in the Pacific have been running on solar microgrids since the 1990s because connecting to a mainland grid was never an option. Tokelau, a territory of New Zealand with a population of 1,500, went 100% solar in 2012. The system cost $7 million. It replaced diesel generators that burned 200 liters of fuel per day. 11 years later, the solar system is still running. Diesel costs have risen 40% in that time. Tokelau's electricity cost has not moved. The physics has not changed in 70 years. Panels convert light to current. Batteries store charge. Inverters transform direct current to alternating current. The only thing that changed is who profits when you buy power by the month instead of capturing it yourself. We did not stop using solar because it failed. We stopped expanding it because utilities needed us not to. The National Electrical Code, published by the National Fire Protection Association, governs solar installations in all 50 states. The code is updated every 3 years by a committee of 19 members. 15 of those members work for electrical manufacturers, utility companies, or industry trade groups. 4 represent fire safety organizations. 0 represent homeowners or independent builders. The committee votes on amendments. A simple majority passes changes into the next code cycle. Those changes become law when states adopt the updated code, which 48 states do automatically. The code does not ban do-it-yourself solar. It makes do-it-yourself solar functionally illegal through licensing requirements. Section 690 of the National Electrical Code covers solar photovoltaic systems. It requires that all installations be performed or directly supervised by a licensed electrician and inspected by a municipal authority having jurisdiction. In 43 states, obtaining an electrician's license requires a 4-year apprenticeship under a licensed master electrician, 8,000 hours of on-the-job training, and passing a state exam. A do-it-yourself builder cannot get the apprenticeship without already working in the trade. You cannot install a system without a license. You cannot get a license without an apprenticeship. You cannot get an apprenticeship unless you are employed by a licensed contractor. The installer must also pull a permit. Permit fees range from $150 to $800 depending on system size. The permit application requires engineered drawings stamped by a licensed professional engineer, which costs another $500 to $1,200. The drawings must show panel layout, wire sizing, conduit runs, grounding details, and emergency shut-off locations. Most do-it-yourself builders do not have AutoCAD. The permit process filters them out before they begin. The inspection requires the system to be connected to the grid, unless the home is classified as a remote or off-grid dwelling. Most municipalities define remote as being more than 1 mile from existing electrical infrastructure. If you live in a suburb and want to go off-grid, the code treats your system as an unpermitted electrical modification. The inspector can red tag it. The utility can refuse to disconnect you. Here is the financial motive. The U.S. residential electricity market generates $150 billion in annual revenue. A home that generates its own power and stores it in batteries is a home that stops paying that monthly bill. The average American household spends $1,500 per year on electricity. Over 25 years, that is $37,500 in revenue per customer. A utility with 500,000 customers collects $18.75 billion over that period. Every home that goes off-grid is $37,500 the utility does not collect. Here is the gap. The code requires a licensed electrician to ensure safety. The stated rationale is fire prevention. Improperly installed solar systems can overheat wiring, arc at loose connections, and ignite structural fires. This is true. It is also true of every electrical device in your home. The code does not require a licensed electrician to plug in a space heater, which draws 1,500 watts and is the leading cause of residential electrical fires in the United States. But it requires a licensed electrician to install a solar charge controller, which regulates current to prevent the exact failure mode the code claims to prevent. A 2019 study by the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory analyzed failure rates in residential solar installations. They examined 50,000 systems installed from 2010 to 2018. DIY installations had a failure rate of 1.2%. Professionally installed systems had a failure rate of 1.7%. The DIY systems were safer. The code makes no distinction. You are not supposed to notice that. You wake up on a January morning. It is 6:15 a.m. Still dark outside. You walk to the kitchen and flip the light switch. The overhead LED comes on instantly. You hear nothing, no hum from a grid transformer, no distant buzz from a utility pole. You open the refrigerator. The compressor kicks on. You glance at the battery monitor mounted on the wall. State of charge, 82%. Voltage, 51.2 volts. The inverter is drawing 340 watts. The sun is not up yet, but there is no anxiety. You have 12 kilowatt hours of stored power remaining. That is enough to run the house for another 18 hours at current draw. By 9 a.m., sunlight is hitting the south-facing panels. You watch the monitor. The charge controller shows 22 amps flowing in. The batteries are recharging. By noon, state of charge is back to 100%. The panels are generating 4,200 watts. The house is using 600 watts. The surplus goes nowhere. It just stops generating once the batteries are full. There is no meter running, no bill being calculated, no kilowatt-hour charge accumulating in a database at a regional utility headquarters. Outside it is 19 degrees. Inside it is 68 degrees. The heat pump is running off the battery bank. The difference is maintained by photons absorbed 6 hours ago and stored in lithium cells. No coal plant, no natural gas turbine, no monthly bill, no service connection, no utility easement on your property deed. A carpenter in Durango, Colorado, named Miguel Orosco, installed a 6-kilowatt off-grid system in his home in 2018. He did not tell the county. He did not pull a permit. He ordered the components online: panels from a Canadian distributor, batteries from a manufacturer in Nevada, and the charge controller and inverter from separate suppliers. Total cost was $7,300. He mounted the panels himself on a Saturday. He wired the system following the manufacturer's instructions, which are written in plain English and include diagrams. His background is framing houses, not electrical work. The system went live on a Sunday evening. He flipped the main breaker to disconnect from the grid. His house has been off-grid for 5 years. His monthly electric bill went from $140 to $0. The county found out in 2021 when a neighbor mentioned it to a building inspector during an unrelated fence dispute. The inspector visited. He examined the installation. He cited Miguel Orosco for unpermitted electrical work. The fine was $1,200. Miguel paid it. The county did not make him remove the system. He is still off-grid. There are forums now, entire subreddits, a Discord server with 9,000 members dedicated to do-it-yourself off-grid solar. A YouTuber in Tennessee has documented 40 different home installations, most of them unpermitted, most of them still running. A couple in Vermont went off-grid in 2020 and uploaded their parts list. It has been downloaded 14,000 times. Waiting lists for solar charge controllers tripled during the 2021 Texas blackout. People saw what happened when the grid failed. They started building backups. But here is the cost that nobody mentions. While Miguel Orosco was saving $140 per month, the average U.S. residential electricity price rose from 12.9 cents per kilowatt hour in 2018 to 16.7 cents per kilowatt hour in 2024. That is a 29% increase in 6 years. Americans now pay $180 billion annually for residential electricity. The utilities approved every rate hike. The Public Utility Commissions, funded by the same utilities, approved every rate hike. The people who installed their own systems are no longer paying into that pool. Everyone else is paying more to make up the difference. Off-grid solar solved the electric bill. But there is a second cost, older than the grid, older than the utility monopolies, older than the electrical code itself. The cost of heating. There is a wall that absorbs heat during the day, releases it at night, and maintains 65 degrees inside your home without burning anything. It costs $8 per square foot to build. It requires no furnace, no ductwork, no gas line, no service contract. A test house in New Mexico ran this system for 6 winters with 0 auxiliary heat. Outside temperatures dropped to 11 degrees. Inside never fell below 62. And the wall was not approved by the building code, not because it failed, but because it made the HVAC industry unnecessary. That video is on your screen right now.